Hello everybody and welcome back. And the party are on the western edge of this valley in the Temple of Flower, which is a grand structure that seems to be 90% intact. They're currently here. They fought off an attack of 5 extraordinarily tough ghouls in the vestibule, moved into this part here, which they spent some time looking around to see what is what. This is a statue of Flower. This is a strange altar where the priestess is convinced we have to perform this ritual. Well, she has to perform it. We're there to protect the ritual. It takes over 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And there's this most extraordinary pit in the middle of the temple, which is jet black darkness with a god-awful smell, the smell we associate with the Karatoba coming up from it. It is surrounded by a wall of blue flames, which Carrick is convinced come from natural gas. The Hutaakans believe it is part of the divine magic of Flower. They are wrong, our dwarf is correct. And there is this cage which is suspended over the pit by a chain with a winch, so it's pretty obvious that you can lower things into the pit. This has caused some of the party, I think Sylvia first thought of it, that maybe the relationship between the Hutaakans and this Karatoba isn't what they claim it to be. This seems to be where you would make a sacrifice to this creature. It didn't take long for the party to get rushed by 10 zombies. These zombies are under the control of a greater undead. This is a concept new to our cleric. Donard was a bit annoyed that the priestess didn't try and turn any undead. She began to give a haughty response, but then backtracked and apologised. Yet come this second zombie fight, she still didn't show up for it. So there's a certain distant, arrogant haughtiness to these Hutaakans, and maybe the thug-like aggressive Traldar, maybe their version of events is closer to the truth than we thought. Nonetheless, before the zombie fight, we heard doors from here and here fly open. The zombies came from here, so it's pretty obvious we're going to investigate these 2 rooms. And the party don't get much further than the altar than they can see here. Snarling and clawing at the air and baring their teeth are the animated rotted corpses of 3 ghouls. Right, now experience has shown the party these ghouls are much tougher than your standard type, so Donard is going to have a quick word with this priestess and say, let's turn them. And she pulls a face like, how dare you question me? She obviously is not in control of her face because she does nod and agree, which seems at odds with her internal sentiments. Right, so yes, she's a reluctant participant. Now these ghouls are level 4, which for both Donard and the priestess means they can auto-turn them. They just have to roll 2d6 to see how many. So Donard turns 2. And the priestess, well, she can't fail to turn 1. And she does turn exactly 1. That is her minimum effort challenge. What is interesting though to Donard is to hear the "be gone," whatever the chant is, in a completely different language, yet it does have the same effect. So these 3 ghouls go into the corner of this room here. They snarl and claw at the walls in a desperate attempt to get away from these clerics. In fact, they seem to be clawing at some fallen boulders. There's a large pile of fallen boulders here, and they are starting to do a good job in clearing them away. Right, that in itself is interesting. Our usual tactic here is to shoot ranged attacks at these things. Well, according to my version, if you engage them in melee, you can get a free attack because they have got their backs turned to you, but they will have the right to attack you back next round. So the strategy has always been to use missile fire and to just reduce their health bit by bit. However, Sylvia, Liz and Stephen have some bad news. They only have 20 arrows each. This is something I have not considered for a long time. In fact, I think since Horror on the Hill is that we're running short of arrows. And as a way of explanation, Liz says, we had a couple of quivers of arrows on the pony, and well, we know what happened to the pony. One of the backpacks, the one with the arrows, was carried off to a griffin's nest. Right, so this means either we have to ration our arrows very carefully, or we have to go back to the Traldar and ask them if they can make us some. If they can. Also, it means we're going to have to pull arrows out of corpses, which I'm going to have to do a percentage roll to see how many arrows are salvageable, and I think I might put that at 50%. For example, if you shoot 4 arrows into somebody, I'm not going to do 4 percentage rolls to see how many you recover. I will establish that you recover 2. If it's 3 arrows, I will roll a percentage dice for the odd one. So that is the situation the party are in, and so we're going to have to fight these ghouls. And we're going to have to get close enough to one to fight it with melee, and that means only 2 party members can really get that close. So if there's one here on the edge, they're going to have to take off the one on the edges first. So luckily, because they have their backs to us and they're clawing away at this wall, Carrick and Donard are going to get a free strike. And Donard does well with that free strike and takes 11 points off the first ghoul, and it's down to 7. And Carrick does the 7 required. That ghoul is dead before it even got to turn around. So they're going to take on the second ghoul, keeping as far away from the third one as possible. Same system applies. Ah yes, he does 9 damage. The ghoul is at 9. Carrick, well, he hits and he does 5 damage. It's down to 4. So there is a roll for initiative, and it gets initiative. It has to turn and target somebody, and it chooses Donard. Okay, claw attacks, 2 claw attacks and a bite, and it misses. And it misses again. Right, so Donard has his chance to hit back. And yeah, he does. So they move up to the third and final ghoul in the corner, which is, as I say, tearing away at these rocks. And yes, that's another 10 points off it. It's down to 8. And Carrick does 7. It's down to 1. So let's roll for initiative. And it turns again. It has a chance to fight back. And it chooses Donard. And it misses with its claws. And it fumbles with its bite. So it's our party's turn. And Donard finishes it off with the most lackadaisical minimum effort he can put in, and there are 3 ghouls. So those rocks are of interest, and indeed, Malin asks one of the Hutaakans who's holding a lantern to come over here, and Malin pulls up the side of the lantern, which is how you access it to light it, and sure enough, a bit of waft of air blows the flame. And the party cross over to these doors to see if there's any ghouls in there, in formation, taking their time, and this is empty. So this area is ghoul free. So with some confidence, we're all told to get into formation as the priestess stands here to begin the ritual, and we'll see how that goes. Right, so with much ceremony, the priestess lifts this book aloft, says some initial incantation, and then places the book onto the altar. And sure enough, as soon as she touches the altar, these 4 living statues suddenly creak into life. They don't move very quickly, and they are on a balcony, so they have to get down the balcony, and that gives us enough time to get into formation. It also means that the other Hutaakans who are with us flee to the back, as is their wont. Right, okay. Who will we have and where? Now, we have encountered living statues before, and we know they don't respond to non-magical weapons. So I think we will need 4 front liners, and I think I'm going to partner up Carrick and Sylvia at the foot of these stairs, and Donard and Stephen at the foot of these stairs, with the main tanks putting themselves first, and the secondary ones in a sort of flanking position. Liz and Malin have moved to the back. Malin has a dagger +2, which he could throw. Liz has her short sword +2, and she is going to creep around here and hide in shadows. And by the time all of that is done, the first of the statues has made it to the bottom of the stairs. So let's roll for initiative. And we get initiative. Will this fight be a problem? Not really, you know, famous last words. Right, let's roll for Carrick first. And does he hit AC 4? Yes, he does. And he does 9 damage. And that first statue is down to 6. And he's got Sylvia flanking him. And she misses. So let's do Donard. Has no problem hitting and does 7 damage. That one is down to 8. And Stephen. He misses. Okay. It's the statue's turns, and they get 2 attacks of 1d6 each. They need a 17 to hit. Oh, and that one just misses. That was the one on Carrick. And that's the one on Donard. They both miss. So that was round number 1. Round number 2. They get initiative, and the second statue will have joined the fight. So we have 4 attacks on each of our frontliners. Helps if you throw the right dice. They both miss. Those both miss Carrick. 4 fists on Donard, and they miss. Ah, and they both hit, and 6 points off him. He's down to 32. Okay, it's our go. Yes, and Carrick hits and smashes one of the statues. We'll do Donard. He hits, doesn't quite kill his statue. I'll do Stephen, who misses badly. And I'll do Sylvia, who misses. Now by this time, Liz will have crept to about here. Will she have done so in the shadows? No, she has failed to. So she can still get an attack, but it will not be a backstab. So it's round number 3. It's mutual. I will do them first. So there are 4 fists on Carrick. No, I'll do a switch. I'll do statue attacking Stephen, and 1 turns to attack Sylvia. Sylvia's AC is slightly weaker at 1. So, the one that fights Carrick hits him, and he's down to 16. The one that's on Stephen hits him, and he's down to 16. The one on Donard hits him, he's down to 27. What about the one on Sylvia? They both miss, but do they? Yes, that misses. They need a 15 to hit Sylvia. Right, okay, so it's our go. Oh, I shouldn't have done one on Carrick, because there is one that is killed. I'll make it Stephen. There was no statue to fight Stephen. Carrick killed one. So Donard is on one that has 1 HP left. And he fumbles and misses it. He doesn't like getting hit. Carrick is going to turn on the one that's fighting him. And he, yes, yep, that getting hit didn't go down well. He completely smashes that statue to dust. So there are 2 statues left, and I'll do the one that's on, the one Sylvia is attacking. And she misses. There's no time for Carrick and Stephen to cross over to help. Liz is going to go in for what she thinks is a backstab, but it's just a normal attack. And she misses badly. God damn it. So it's round to number 4. And they get initiative. So there are 2 statues left. There's one on Donard. That one hits him for 3 points. He's down to 24. And then there's one on Sylvia. And that one just misses her. Thumps out with its fist and hits the banister at the bottom of the stairs, smashing it. Right, it's our go. So Carrick and Stephen are going to have to spend their turn trying to get round this flaming pit. I will do Liz on the one that's attacking Donard. Nah, she misses. Donard cracks it to dust. So Sylvia is the only one with a statue on her. What can she do? She can miss. So round number 5, there's only one statue left. It can't have everybody on it. There isn't that much room. I will have to pick 3 people. Those 3 get initiative. I'll do Donard, who completely misses. I'll do Sylvia, who is being attacked. She completely misses. And I'll do our dwarf, who completely misses. Right. So this thing, which doesn't move very quickly, raises 2 more fists and comes down hard on Sylvia for 6 points. She's down to 9. Round number 6. It's mutual. And it misses Sylvia. What can our cleric do? He can miss. What can our elf do? She can finally hit and does 7 points. It's down to 8 HP. And can our dwarf finish it off? He can just finish it off. Right, that fight is over. Okay, we're going to have to do some healing. The priestess informs us this ritual will take about 1 hour, and therefore anything can happen. So I will do the Cure Light Wounds sword that Sylvia has on herself. Great, she's back up to 12. I will do a Staff of Healing on Donard. Sweet, who is back up to 33. I'll do a Cure Light Wounds from Donard on Carrick. That's good, he's back up to 22. I'm going to mark these off. Okay, I think we're going to ask one of our little priest friends to also try and heal Carrick. Good, and he is back up to 28. Donard will cast his last Cure Light Wounds upon himself, and he's up to 35. Let's watch this ritual and let's see what happens next. So the ceremony continues, and given the tension in the place, this 1 hour seems to drag on forever. Nothing comes in to attack, which is good. The priestess is standing at the altar with her 2 acolyte helpers. The Hutaakan warriors with the spears are at the door, and we are guarding her. However, halfway through the ceremony, there's this massive extra waft of gastric acid that comes up from this pit, and it's nauseous. I think the proper word is noxious. There's a low rolling grumble from somewhere in the depths, and the party all look at each other. This is the Karatoba. But eventually, after some time, the ceremony ends, and the priestess gives a really long, drawn-out sigh, and that's it over. The party ask what happens next, and the priestess just says the undead have been put to rest. And that indeed was the main reason for the ritual. Across the entire valley, including in this temple, all the wandering and controlled undead have gone. They have fallen on the spot and crumbled into dust. So it's time to pack up and go home. Well, go home for the Hutaakans. The party are going to... I think the party want to investigate this temple. With the ritual performed and with the priestess gone, why will the party not just follow her? Why should they stay? Well, Malin is mesmerised by the fact they're in a lost valley with an ancient forgotten civilization. Sylvia loves wandering, and her Gesh seems to have been warded off in this valley. Carrick is curious to see if there are any wondrous forgotten crafts and artifacts. Liz thinks they at least should leave with a ton of loot. Donard thinks the Karatoba is the epitome of the evil he has sworn to purge. And Stephen wants a recompense for the destruction caused to his kinfolk. And where is Golthar? We have investigated this room here, found it to be empty. There are 2 double doors here, and there's also this pile of rubble which is half torn away, and through it, when we shine a lantern, we have seen that it leads somewhere. So what the party will do is they will escort the priestess and the Hutaakans with her out to the front door back into the valley, and then we will part ways and decide what to do next. I think Carrick is interested as to where this secret passage leads. I mean, the double doors seem the most obvious one. Let's roll. Let's do a vote. 1 to 2, this door. 3 to 4, that door. 5 to 6, the rubble. This door wins. 3 to 4. And that was Malin, Donard and Sylvia want to try that door. So let's go over and listen at the door. Liz does not hear anything, so we are going to open the door. And it opens up into a small chamber 20 foot by 20 foot. The northern wall has crumbled away, and there are stairs going downward. Is there anything in this room? Okay, well, what there is in this room are 8 piles of dust with swords and shields amongst some of them. These are the remains of some of the undead that would have attacked us, but they remained awaiting their orders from the ghouls that we have killed. As the party enter the room, Malin is the one holding the lamp. He's in his happy place, and they can cast the lamplight over the walls and see some more of these ancient frescoes that they have seen across the valley in various other crypts of the Hutaakans, heavily robed. And of course, things in these frescoes are much more identifiable. The style of the weapons, the sort of ceremonial jewellery they're wearing, the style of the robes and armour, who is who. Are we going to go down the stairs further? Why not? So the stairs continue downward for another 40 feet and they open up into a T-junction. We can see it goes 60 feet southward and 30 feet northward, and it opens up into another type of room. We haven't done a dungeon crawl in a long time. Do we go north or south? Let's take another vote. 1, 2, 3 is north, 4 to 6 is south. Okay, and it's a bit of a split decision. So the party are going to argue that out for a bit. And eventually they decide to go northward. And they find themselves in another demolished, ruined room, which is sort of cross-shaped. Well, it's hard to determine what it is really. This room is filled with broken and ruined furniture. Some beds, some tables, some chairs. Nothing is intact. It's all covered in inches of dust. This was clearly one of the living quarters for the priests. Well, they kick over things and they poke things with their swords and weapons just to see if anything is lying around. But no, this is a long abandoned room. Are they going to go southward? Or are they going to try this door? Or even this door? I'll do a quick yes, no for going south or back into the main temple. Actually no, they'll just go southward. Why would they not? Very soon, the temple southward leads downward into darkness and it turns a corner. Do we want to go downward? I think the party are going to go back to the temple and they're going to have a think because it is getting into the evening. Yeah, we're going to have to camp somewhere for the night, and I think we might want to camp in this temple. If anything, the safest place, the most defensible, is this room here, the old priest's quarters. We can't make up the beds, because as soon as we touch the wood, it all just crumbles beneath us. Let's leave it there for a minute, and we'll have the party rest up. Before the party go to sleep, we might as well use up the remainder of the staff of healing on those who need it, and Donard and Stephen have to get their charges. So we will do Donard. He gets 5 points, he is up to 40. And Stephen is at 22, and the minimum he can get is 4, so he is back up to 26, which is his max. So we're going to have to bed down for the night, and we're going to have to put people on watch, and let's see if anything happens in the middle of the night. Whoever rolls the lowest is on watch. And that is Malin and Donard. Okay, so in the depth of the night, they're on watch. They've tried to make a little bit of a campfire by burning a lot of this old wood. It does burn quite well. And then they hear in the quiet a clicking, ticking noise that they have not heard for many months. And it takes them a while to realise what it is. And they look around down this hallway to see if anything's coming up. And they can't quite see, and then all of a sudden Malin points to the ceiling and whispers, "Look." Coming along the ceiling are two carrion crawlers. That's right, after the undead have gone, all the sort of vermin and slimes that live with the Karatoba underneath this temple have decided to come back up into it. How are we going to do this? Malin still has a web spell. They're still some way down the corridor. They aren't in room for combat yet. Let's roll for initiative. They're going to move up the corridor. It's always spells before melee. So yes, Malin is going to cast web. He's going to cast web here in the corridor. And that is enough to trap the two carrion crawlers. Can you hack and slash at people who are trapped in a web from the edge of the web? I think the answer to that is always going to be no, because your sword or your weapon will get stuck in the web as well. So that can't happen. The most you can do is burn the web or shoot into it. The web will be there for some time. This is enough time for Donard to wake everybody else, and we can get ourselves ready for the fight that's ahead. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have Stephen and Donard on one corner and Sylvia and Carrick on another corner. And we're going to torch the web. That means each carrion crawler will take 1d6 points of damage. Good, and one takes 6 and one takes 3. They only have 12 to begin with. Right, we're going to watch the web as it burns, and why don't I do a morale check? And the carrion crawler's morale does hold up, so after the web burns away, they're still going to come for us. Let's roll for initiative. And they get initiative. Right, this is a massive 8 attacks. That's each. Now there was some conversation many months ago about, do the 8 attacks occur all at once, or are they one after the other? And in my mind, they occurred all at once, almost as though it was 8 tentacles all squirming out at the same time. It wasn't a sequence of one then the other. You know, this is almost like alien facehugger type attacks. So on Donard, they need a 17 to hit. That's 4 misses. 1 hit. Right, he needs to make a saving throw versus paralysis. And that is normally a 12, but I'm using the strength bonus system, so he needs an 11 or more. And he throws a 13, so that paralysis does nothing. The second carrion crawler is on Carrick, and he gets hit once. He gets hit twice. He gets hit 4 times, so he has to make 4 saving throws versus paralysis. This is normally just an 8, but he gets 2 bonus for strength, so he has to throw 6 or more 4 times. That's twice, well. And he fails twice, so he is paralysed. So that was their go. It's our go. Liz is going to switch over to her sword. No, I think Liz is going to shoot an arrow. So let's do missiles first. Let's do Malin with a throwing dagger. On the one that's on Carrick. He hits AC 4 and he does 2 damage. It's down to 7. Liz shoots an arrow and she misses. Right, we'll talk about recovering the arrows afterwards. We have melee. Let's do Stephen, who hits and kills one. And let's do Sylvia, who misses. And let's do Donard, who hits and kills the other. That arrow got shot into nowhere. That arrow was lost in the ashes of the web. She can't pull that out of the carrion crawler's body. So Liz is down to 19 arrows. The party are going to rest for the rest of the night, and they're going to wake up tomorrow morning with their spells memorized, and they're going to explore the rest of this dungeon. There are 3 areas to explore. These doors here, this rubble pile here, and the stairs downward. Well, let's look forward to a good old dungeon crawl next session, and I'll see you then.